Pericles has retired to the balcony already, has he? His ability to sneak off and sulk is second to none.
Welcome to MojoPlays. Today, we're looking at the 10 biggest betrayals in Assassin's Creed games.
A merry life and a short one, as promised. How well I know myself.
You just can't trust anyone in this franchise.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Sigurd, Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
That was always our plan, Eivor. I had no intention of betraying Giedrich.
It was your plan all along.
We're not actually talking about Sigurd's betrayal of the clan, which isn't so much of a betrayal as him just being a terrible leader with no real sense of responsibility. No, we're talking about the ways Eivor betrays their brother. The game's ending is determined by how much you may or may not have mistreated Sigurd, which you can do in a slew of ways, the most notable of which being that you can seduce and have an affair with his wife Randvi.
You have an adventurous heart. I hardly see it behind the table, but now I've watched you scale a tower in furs, soaking wet.
While you can also not do this, we know that very few players were able to turn her down, and cuckolding your own adoptive brother is a pretty major betrayal. Shay Cormac, Assassin's Creed Rogue.
A great earthquake. Thousands dead next to your adopted manuscript!
This cannot be.
Shay, a person cannot start an earthquake!
We already knew Shay was a traitor before the game came out because that was the entire premise. He's a rogue assassin who decides to align himself with the Templars after witnessing the 1755 Lisbon earthquake, which the assassins caused. But as interesting a game as Rogue is, Shay's actions are still severe.
Give back the manuscript, Shay! I'm sure Achilles—
I cannot! I will not let this happen again!
He may seem justified in his outrage against the assassins, but he then turns on his former teachers and assassinates them all in turn. Plus, he also kills Charles Dorian, Arno's father, right in front of the poor kid, setting into motion the events of Assassin's Creed Unity.
I'm just finishing old business.
Aspasia, Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I couldn't help but notice your talent for debate. Well done.
Socrates is an interesting character.
Wife of Pericles and major political figure during the Peloponnesian War, who knew that Aspasia, who seemed so friendly, was actually the ghost of Cosmos all along? In truth, the twist gets a little obvious the deeper you get into hunting the cultists, since there's very few characters left who fit the bill, but it's still a shocking reveal that she's been working against you all this time.
Fueling war was one of the methods, yes. But it was controlled. Until suddenly it wasn't. And then I didn't like what we were doing anymore.
On the other hand, you do discover that your goals align and that Aspasia actually wanted you to destroy the cult, but she could have told you all this way earlier in the game, and she's still the leader of a cult that's done horrific things to the protagonist and the wider Greek world.
You've caused so much damage. You destroyed the Greek world.
You've proven you have no understanding of what we're doing. I misjudged you.
Black Bart, Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag.
Yet another dire situation, Roberts. We really must stop meeting like this.
Stop tailing me and your wish had come true.
There's no need for this.
Considering all of Kenway's friends and allies are villainous pirates of the high seas, there's not much reason initially to distrust Bartholomew Roberts. You're already palling around with Blackbeard and Anne Bonny after all. But wouldn't you know, it turns out that Black Bart can't be trusted. He helps Kenway to find the observatory on Jamaica until, predictably enough, turning on him, stealing the crystal skull for himself, and then trying to kill him.
We'll be masters of the ocean with that.
Oh, such ambition.
It seems obvious that Roberts wasn't trustworthy, but we still couldn't believe just how many times Ubisoft had him betray you. And then the IT guy in the future tries to pull almost the same stunt again.
A merry life and a short one, as promised. How well I know myself.
Al-Mu'alim, Assassin's Creed.
What are you doing? There are rules. We are nothing if we do not abide by the Assassin's creed.
The first game was clearly building up to something, with Altair's 9 targets getting increasingly influential and difficult to kill. But as this was the first game in the series, we didn't know yet to expect ludicrous plot twists. So, Al-Mu'alim, leader of the Assassins, being in cahoots with the Templars all along was a great twist and a hard-hitting betrayal.
Oh, Altair, I hear the hatred in your voice, feel its heat. Let you go? That would be unwise.
Why are you doing this?
He did it all so that he could get his hands on the legendary Apple of Eden, which we now know to be an Isu relic, though at the time its origins and powers were still mysterious. Altair having to fight and defeat his former master made for an excellent finale.
Impossible. The student does not defeat the teacher.
Pierre Bellec, Assassin's Creed Unity.
Where? Come here, you little piss pot. Get your hands off me. Look at the wall. What are you doing? Concentrate.
Speaking of assassins who need to defeat their mentors, Arno goes through a similar journey in Unity, albeit much sooner in the game. After he gets sent to the Bastille, he meets Pierre Bellec, who apparently knew his father. It turns out this is because Bellec is also an assassin, and once the Bastille is stormed in 1789, he takes Arno under his wing.
Let's get your arse in position. Don't ask questions, piss pop.
I live to serve.
But then, shockingly, Bellec kills Mirabeau, leader of the Assassins, because he's sick of the uneasy truce between the Assassins and the Templars. Arno must hunt him down and then kill him in a dramatic fight on the roof of Notre Dame. Cleopatra, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Eudorus was a member of the Order of Ancients. They are responsible for my exile. They tore me from my throne.
And why should I care about them?
The players could see that trusting Cleopatra was a bad idea ahead of time, as could Bayek, but Aya remained loyal to her until she showed her true colors. Believing Cleopatra really wanted to do what was best for Egypt, Aya was for a while one of her most dedicated defenders.
My blade will serve as well as his.
No, that's me.
I care not who kills the priest. Let it be done before we head to Heraklion in the north.
However, Cleopatra really didn't want what was best for the Egyptian people and continually sided against Egypt alongside the Romans, thanks to her relationships with both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Caesar and Cleopatra betrayed Bayek and Aya by initially sparing Lucius Septimius' life, and they paid the ultimate price.
I am Egypt! Then be the ruler our people deserve, or nothing will save you from my blade across your throat.
Juno, Assassin's Creed series.
Let it be found by he who is deemed worthy. Let it guide him. Let it shape his path forward.
This betrayal loses some weight because it all happened before the main events of the games, but its impact on the narrative of the series can't be understated. Once, the Isu were the pseudo-divine controllers of Earth. They created humanity to be their slaves, but eventually, humans proved that they had the power to fight the Isu and control their own destinies.
If 100 minds could wish away a wall or create a tree, what might 1,000 do? 10,000? More?
Minerva was one of the moderate Isu leaders, but Juno detested humanity and went out of her way to ensure humanity was either destroyed or controlled. Her betrayal of her fellow Isu basically launched the entire franchise.
Then the consequences of this mistake are yours to live and die with.
Lucy Stillman, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
You'll get to see it once we have the apple.
Well, I expect amazing things.
Who could forget one of the most brutal deaths of the whole series? At the end of Brotherhood, the modern-day assassins reach the Isu temple where the Apple of Eden is. But just when things seem to be looking up for them, the apple's power is unleashed. Juno appears and uses the apple to force Desmond to kill Lucy.
It is done. The way lies all before you.
We later found out during Revelations that Lucy's loyalty, often called into question, really did belong to the Templars, and that she was simply a triple agent this entire time. Her betrayal still hurts today, But worse is the fact it's still only been poorly explained by Ubisoft.
Perhaps you might ask the assassins why they left you alone for so many years.
The Fans, Assassin's Creed series. Undoubtedly, the betrayal of the hardcore fans is something Ubisoft will perhaps never be forgiven for. For years, people have been lamenting the slow deterioration of Assassin's Creed as it slips further and further away from the franchise we came to know and love all those years ago. The newer games aren't bad, but as fans always say, they're not Assassin's Creed anymore. RPGs full of complex combat, romance options, and a distinct lack of targets to systematically assassinate in the main story, it's easy to see why people think that. Not to mention the constant lack of polish thanks to Ubisoft's mistreatment of its staff and relentless annual release cycle. And now, the real salt in the wound is the announcement of a live service, Assassin's Creed Infinity.
Everybody benefits, especially you!
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.